Most eggplant parmesan recipes are more about the tomato sauce than the eggplant itself. They're heavily breaded to where you can hardly taste the eggplant and tend to be cheesy, goopy, oily blobs. Moldova is home to what is arguably the finest eggplant in the world, and they want to taste the eggplant. This recipe is unique for two reasons. First, the manner in which the eggplant are coated without any egg or bread. This is completely different from anything you've seen. Second, the sauce is made from braised vegetables that have a true synergy with the Parmesan cheese. Putting in about 8 cloves of garlic, rather a lot of garlic, and I'm going to start it off just by grinding it in the food processor a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to add the flour. That's 180 grams. And you don't have to add this, but it helps a little bit. It's a subtle difference, but I'm adding a little marjoram, about a teaspoon of dried marjoram to this. It's optional. And then you need about generous 2 teaspoons of salt. Seems like a lot of salt, but it won't be, because this most of this isn't going to actually stick to the eggplant. Now we're going to grind it some more. You'll find it's sticking at the bottom because of the dry flour and the relatively wet garlic, so you have to scrape down the sides a little bit. You want to try to get this as homogeneous as you can. Okay, now you can leave this to sit for an hour before you begin using it, or you can use it right away if you have to. Just to show you the difference, the kind of eggplant we usually see here, it's not shiny and black and pretty, but it has much better flavor. It's actually ironic because it doesn't look very good like most natural fruit and vegetables, but the taste is actually far better. But I realize your chances of getting one that's not genetically bred to look pretty are thin. But if you can, those are the best eggplants. Yeah, here's one of the eggplants. I just ran a heart peeler down it. I wish you could smell this. It is so different from the eggplant that you get in the United States. It's like filling the whole room with a scent of eggplant right now. It's completely different. As you can see, I'm cutting these maybe a quarter of an inch thick, something like that, and just repeat it down here to the rest of the eggplant. Now I have the flour that had the garlic and the salt mixed into it. I'm going to toss these slices after I do them all in here. We're going to let it stand for a while. This is why also you don't want to have big chunks of garlic in it, because otherwise when you cook it you'll have big chunks of garlic that'll burn. So there's a little bit of an art as to how long you leave the eggplant in the flour, but you have to leave it there for a while, because the salt that's in the flour is going to work on the eggplant, and it's going to draw out some of the moisture, and it's going to hydrate the flour. It's part of the process. So we'll give it a little while and come back and check. Now about every 5 to 10 minutes you want to toss these pieces around in the flour. I don't know if you can see on the video or not, but this is changing. They're starting to become sticky. They're tacky to the touch. That's the stage that you're looking for. You don't want to let them go way past this point, because then what will happen is you get this super heavy coating of flour on them, and not only will they taste gummy when you're done, but it'll give you terrible indigestion because you'll have raw flour in the inside there. So this is about the right amount of time, but it'll vary from eggplant to eggplant, and probably some other things like how humid the environment you're sitting in right now when you do this is. So they're just slightly tacky. This is the point we're going to start heating up the oil and cooking them. I'm also I'm going to leave them in the flour, but I'm not going to be tossing them around and trying to get any more flour on them now. I'm just going to kind of push them off to the side here a bit and get them out of the flour so they don't start getting gummy. Okay, I'm using a good, very heavy non-stick pan for this. This is an extremely good pan. It's important because you don't want these to stick at all. I'm also adding olive oil to this. Pan's already hot, and I'm going to start cooking these just a few at a time. Now, one of the other things to consider here, this is one of those peasant dishes, which is often the case, is very labor intensive. It's going to take a while to slowly cook this eggplant. Don't set fire to it with a super high flame, super high heat. It's being cooked over medium to medium high heat. On a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 7. If you try doing it too fast, the eggplant won't be creamy and soft in the middle. It'll just be burnt on the outside. So it's going to take time. It's going to take maybe for each batch of eggplant, maybe 8 or 9 minutes in order to get it cooked completely. And nice and golden. And when you multiply that by the number of pieces of eggplant we have to do, you can see this is going to take a while to go through all this eggplant and cook it. That's just the way that it is. It's not a good restaurant dish because it's too labor intensive. It's been about 3 minutes now, and I'm going to add some more olive oil in the middle here, and I'm going to flip these pieces around. You want to keep them moist with olive oil so that they brown nicely. Also helps to turn the pan around some too. As you can see, some of the pieces are more cooked than others, which is inevitable with any stove. So just keep them going. This is not done on this side. They're going to need to be turned again. Okay, it's been 3 minutes on this side. Now I'm going to flip them back over, and they're going to get about 1.5 minutes on the original side again. I'm not adding any more oil to the pan this time. They're already moist on there. They don't need any more oil this time. About 1.5 minutes. Okay, it's been about a minute. I've also turned the heat down from 7 to 6 because I see that they're cooking just a little bit too fast. You want to aim so that they take about 9 minutes total cooking time per batch, and these are taking maybe 8 minutes. So they're a little bit too fast. So I turned the temperature on the stove down to 6, and it's just going to take just like 1 more minute. Then we're going to transfer these to a plate. Okay, it's been another minute. I'm just going to flip this over to show you. They're nice and golden crisp on both sides. These are going to go to a plate to reserve. Then take a kitchen towel, and this has got a bunch of partially burnt flour in there, and it'll be really burnt if you don't wipe this out in between each batch. So it's got to be wiped clean. Of course, it's still hot. More olive oil, and then we begin the next batch. Just exact same process. You just repeat it. About 3 minutes on the first side, 3 minutes on the second side, about a minute to a minute and a half on the first side again, and a minute to a minute and a half to finish it up on the other side. Okay, and the process gets repeated. I've got the last slices of eggplant going here now. It's been about 35 minutes in all. And you find that you've got more flour with the garlic and the herbs and the salt in it than you needed. This works really well for making coating for fried chicken. You can use that, or you can do another whole batch of another eggplant in the same batch. Don't do more than one more, and then other than that, you can throw it, of course, because it's only flour and garlic and salt. It's not especially expensive. And this is what we want to end up with. We have cut 18 slices in all from the one eggplant, which is enough to make 6 of the final product, as you'll see in a few minutes. This can be left for 30 or 40 minutes easily. The eggplant's really crisp when it first comes off, but it'll soften up slightly as it sits there, but it doesn't make any difference because it's going to go in the oven with sauce anyway. It's going to soften up. Yeah, this is the sauce that I actually made this sauce, the Moldavian braised vegetable sauce, yesterday. So the first step is to put a little bit down in the dish that this is going to be cooked in. This keeps the eggplant from sticking, and obviously it's going to, bottom eggplant's going to absorb a little bit of the sauce. Okay. Now we begin stacking them. If you wanted to do this for a larger course, you could stack them higher than I am. I'm only going to use 3 layers here. In a restaurant, we use about 8 if we have to make this dish, but I usually don't because it's too labor intensive. Now, this is genuine Parmigiano-Reggiano cheese. Don't use an imitation for this. This is an important aspect of this dish. It's what it's based on. So don't cheap out and use imitation Parmesan. It will not work. Not that crap in the box that's dehydrated. Okay, and I'm just putting like a teaspoon of the same braised eggplant sauce on there, and I'm going to repeat this 3 times here. Okay, more cheese. Well, it's just about like a teaspoon of cheese between each layer. Doesn't have to be exact, of course. It'll all average out. And another teaspoon of sauce. The oven, in the meantime, is preheating. And the final layer of eggplant on top here. Okay. Now, more Parmesan. We're going to put a lot more sauce on the last layer, though. It's just about what we needed for the eggplant. Now, really spoon on the sauce. This recipe is it's about the eggplant, but it's also all about the sauce. Don't forget, the sauce is made from all these deliciously braised vegetables we took so much care on. So it's not just like a little decoration. It's not a background note nearly as much as it would be on an Italian eggplant parmesan. So this is looking pretty good. Now add the final. This is quality wet packed mozzarella. It's actually imported from Italy, but you may or may not be able to find quality Italian mozzarella if you live outside of Europe. Usually you get something that's made in the country that you're from. We live close enough to Italy right now that we can get the Italian one. Okay, there we go. This is enough. And this is going to go into the oven and begin baking. Also look for my cocktail book, Cocktails of the South Pacific and Beyond, Advanced Mixology, available through Amazon online.